Hidden in the shadows of history, waiting to be rediscovered, lie objects so powerful they could rewrite everything we know about one of the world's most secretive orders. The Knights Templar didn't just vanish, they left behind clues, artifacts steeped in mystery that hint at lost knowledge, divine connections, and unimaginable wealth. What if some of these relics weren't just legends? What if they still exist today, hidden in plain sight? From a cup rumored to hold the power of eternal life to a chest that might contain the very words of God, these relics have sparked centuries of obsession and intrigue. We're about to uncover 25 of the most extraordinary artifacts tied to the Templars, objects that challenge our understanding of history, faith, and even reality itself. Get ready to see the past in a whole new light, because what you're about to discover might just change the way you see the world forever. One artifact stands above all others in Templar lore, a relic so steeped in mystery that its very existence blurs the line between history and legend. The Holy Grail, said to be the chalice used by Christ at the Last Supper, isn't just a religious icon, it's the centerpiece of countless Templar conspiracies. According to medieval accounts during their time in Jerusalem, the Knights Templar conducted secret excavations beneath Temple Mount. Some believe they unearthed more than just treasure. They found the Grail itself, a vessel rumored to hold unimaginable power. But where did it go? Theories span continents and centuries. Some claim the Grail was smuggled to Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, hidden within its intricate carvings. Others whisper it crossed the Atlantic, taken by Templar ships to secret locations in the New World long before Columbus set sail. Then there's the most tantalizing question of all: was the Grail even a physical cup? Some scholars argue it represented something far deeper, like divine wisdom or even a bloodline. What makes the Grail so compelling isn't just its religious significance, but the way it intertwines with Templar mythology. The Order's sudden rise to power, their cryptic rituals, and their abrupt downfall. Could the Grail be the missing link? Whether it's a lost artifact or a metaphor for hidden knowledge, one thing is certain: the search for it has driven kings, scholars, and treasure hunters to obsession for centuries. And if the Templars truly did possess it, the implications would rewrite history itself. Few artifacts carry as much mystique and sheer destructive power as the legendary Ark of the Covenant. Unlike the Grail, this relic wasn't just a vessel of sacred meaning. According to ancient texts, it was a weapon of divine fury, capable of leveling armies and striking down the unworthy. But could the Knights Templar have actually uncovered it during their excavations beneath Jerusalem's Temple Mount? Medieval chronicles suggest they might have. Some accounts describe the Templars hauling away more than gold. They may have taken an object so dangerous it was shielded by sacred rituals. The Ark, said to contain the original stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, wasn't just a relic, it was a conduit of God's wrath. The Bible speaks of its terrifying power, how it burned through those who touched it carelessly, how entire cities fell before it. If the Templars truly possessed it, even briefly, it would explain both their meteoric rise and the fear they inspired in their enemies. So where did it go? One enduring theory points to Ethiopia, where the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion claims to safeguard the Ark to this day. Yet whispers persist of a European escape route, perhaps hidden beneath a remote French chapel or even beneath the Paris Temple, the Order's headquarters. Could the Templars have split their most dangerous relics across multiple locations to protect them, or to keep their power fragmented? What makes the Ark so fascinating isn't just its biblical significance, but the sheer audacity of the claim that a medieval military order might have controlled it. If true, it transforms the Templars from mere bankers and warriors into keepers of something far older and far more volatile. Whether legend or lost history, the Ark's shadow looms over their story, leaving us to wonder: if it still exists, who guards it now? Among the Templar artifacts shrouded in controversy, few have sparked as much debate as the eerie, ghostly image imprinted on the Shroud of Turin. Believed by millions to be the actual burial cloth of Christ, its origins remain fiercely contested. But here's where things get intriguing. Evidence suggests the Knights Templar might have been its secret guardians long before it surfaced in medieval Europe. Historical records from the early 14th century mention the Templars standing trial for heresy, accused of worshipping a mysterious headcloth bearing a face. The description matches the shroud's haunting imprint, an image no medieval artist could replicate. How did they acquire it? Some researchers trace its journey from Jerusalem to Constantinople, where it possibly fell into Templar hands after the city's sacking. Others propose the shroud was hidden in plain sight, disguised as a simple banner or altar cloth to evade destruction. Then there's the science. Modern carbon dating once placed the shroud in the medieval era, fueling claims of forgery. Yet, skeptics argue contamination or fire damage could have skewed the results. Even more baffling is the image itself. No pigments, dyes, or brushstrokes, just a mysterious, unexplained transfer of fibers. Could the Templars have known something about its origin that we're still struggling to comprehend? Whether divine relic or medieval enigma, the shroud's connection to the Templars adds another layer to their legend. If they did possess it, were they protecting sacred evidence of the resurrection, or orchestrating one of history's most elaborate hoaxes? The answer might lie somewhere between faith, science, and the silent whispers of the past. One thing's certain, the shroud refuses to give up its secrets easily. Few relics have been as coveted or as feared as the Spear of Destiny. This ancient weapon, said to have drawn the blood of Christ, carries a reputation far beyond its physical form. Legends tell of emperors, conquerors, and even tyrants who sought its power, believing it could shape the fate of nations, and among those rumored to have held it. The Knights Templar. Historical accounts suggest the Templars may have recovered the Holy Lance during their time in the Holy Land, possibly from Constantinople or even beneath Jerusalem itself. Medieval texts describe it as more than a relic. It was a talisman of divine authority. Some chroniclers claim the Order's legendary battlefield successes stemmed from carrying the spear into combat, believing it rendered them invincible. Whether true or symbolic, this idea alone would have struck fear into their enemies. The spear's dark allure didn't end with the Templars. Centuries later, Adolf Hitler became obsessed with locating it, convinced its supernatural influence could secure his dominion over Europe. His frantic search through Austrian churches adds a chilling footnote to the artifact's legacy. But here's the haunting question. If the spear truly existed, where did it vanish after the Templars fell? Some theorize it was smuggled into secret Templar strongholds, perhaps beneath Schotter's Cathedral, or even taken to Scotland. Others argue it was lost to time, its power fading into myth. Yet a handful of lances still exist today, each claiming to be the original. The Vatican, Vienna, and Armenia all house contenders, but none have been definitively proven genuine. What makes the Spear of Destiny so compelling isn't just its biblical roots, but the way it mirrors the Templars' own story, shrouded in power, ambition, and the blurred line between faith and legend. Whether a lost artifact or a psychological weapon, its legacy lingers, leaving us to wonder, if it's still out there, who would dare wield it next? Few accusations against the Knights Templar stirred as much fear or confusion as the claim that they worshipped a mysterious figure known as Baphomet. During their trials in the early 14th century, confessions extracted under torture described an idol with a goat-like head, sometimes adorned with strange symbols. But was this a grotesque deity, a misunderstood symbol, or something else entirely? The truth may lie in mistranslation. Some scholars suggest Baphomet could have been a corruption of Mahomet, the medieval term for the prophet Muhammad. implying the Templars were accused of adopting Islamic practices, a grave charge at the time. Others argue it was a coded representation of wisdom, merging ancient esoteric traditions with Christian mysticism. The famous illustration of Baphomet by occultist Eliphas Levi centuries later, depicting a winged, androgynous figure, bears little resemblance to the crude descriptions from the Templar trials. Yet the question lingers, why would the Templars venerate such a controversial symbol? If they did, it might not have been worship in the traditional sense. Some theories propose Baphomet was a symbolic key, an emblem of their rumored secret knowledge, perhaps tied to alchemy, astrology, or even lost Gnostic teachings. The Church, already threatened by the Order's power, could have twisted these practices into heresy. What makes Baphomet so enduring isn't just its dark reputation, but how it reflects the Templars' enigmatic legacy. Were they truly dabbling in forbidden rites, or was this merely a fabricated excuse to dismantle them? The answer may never be clear, but one thing is certain. The shadow of Baphomet still looms over their story, a haunting reminder of how easily symbols can be weaponized. While most scrolls from antiquity crumble with time, one stands apart not just for its durability, but for the staggering secrets it may hold. The Copper Scroll, unearthed among the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1952, isn't written on fragile parchment but etched onto metal, as if the authors wanted its message to endure. Unlike the religious texts found nearby, this scroll reads like something out of an adventurer's wildest dreams. A detailed inventory of hidden treasure, with precise directions to caches of gold, silver, and sacred artifacts scattered across the Holy Land. Now, here's where the Templar connection ignites. The scroll describes vast quantities of precious metals, quantities so immense that scholars have debated whether it's a literal treasure map or a symbolic record. But what if the Knights Templar, during their excavations beneath Jerusalem, uncovered this very scroll? Their sudden accumulation of wealth has long puzzled historians. Could they have followed its cryptic clues to recover at least part of this lost hoard? The timeline fits. Their rise to financial dominance coincides with their presence in the region. The scroll's instructions are anything but straightforward. Locations are described in riddles, in the salt pit under the steps, or in the cavity of the old cistern. Some researchers believe these sites have already been looted, while others insist key deposits remain untouched, waiting for the right explorer to decipher the code. Even more intriguing, a few of the scrolls described hiding places overlap with areas where the Templars were known to operate. Whether the Templars decoded this ancient treasure map or merely stumbled upon fragments of its wealth, the Copper Scroll adds fuel to their legend. If even a fraction of its contents were real, the implications are staggering. Could Templar gold still lie buried in the hills of Judea or beneath forgotten ruins? The scroll refuses to give up its answers easily, but for those who dare to look, the hunt might just be beginning. Deep within the labyrinth of Templar accusations lies one of the strangest relics ever tied to the Order, the so-called bearded head. When interrogators pressed captured knights about their rituals, multiple confessions extracted under duress mentioned veneration of a disembodied head, often described as bearded and sometimes gilded. To medieval Europe, this was the stuff of nightmares, but was it a grotesque idol, a misunderstood religious symbol, or pure invention designed to smear the Order? The theories surrounding the head's identity are as varied as they are compelling. Some historians point to the cult of John the Baptist, whose severed head was said to possess miraculous power. The Templars, having operated in Jerusalem, could have discovered a relic believed to be the Baptist skull, a sacred object to some, a blasphemous trophy to others. Alternatively, the head might not have been physical at all. In esoteric traditions, disembodied heads often symbolize hidden wisdom. Think of the severed head of the Green Knight in Arthurian lore, still speaking prophecies. Could the Templars have been preserving a metaphorical head of ancient knowledge? Then there's the darkest possibility that the entire story was a fabrication. The accusations surfaced during the trials when the Order's enemies sought any justification to dismantle them. A head worshipped in secret was perfect fodder, shocking enough to inflame public outrage, vague enough to defy verification. It's worth noting that no such relic was ever produced as evidence, and descriptions of it varied wildly between confessions. What makes the bearded head so fascinating isn't just its grotesque imagery, but what it reveals about the power of rumor. Whether a lost relic, a symbol, or a lie, its legacy became a weapon. The charges against the Templars weren't just about heresy, they were about crafting a narrative so unsettling that no one would dare defend them. And centuries later, we're still asking, was this the key to their downfall, or just another shadow in a story already drowning in darkness? Beneath the ancient stones of Jerusalem's Temple Mount lies a mystery that has fueled speculation for centuries. When the Knights Templar established their headquarters atop this sacred site, they weren't just setting up a base, they were digging, probing deep into the earth beneath Solomon's temple. Eyewitness accounts from the medieval era describe a frenzied excavation with Templars hauling away carts of earth and stone. But what were they really after? Some historians argue their discoveries went far beyond mere gold. Among the most tantalizing claims is that they unearthed the legendary menorah, the seven-branched golden candelabrum from Herod's temple, lost since Rome sacked Jerusalem in antiquity. If true, the implications are staggering. The menorah wasn't just a religious object, it was a national symbol, an artifact of divine covenant. Possessing it would have granted the Templars unimaginable spiritual and political leverage. Yet no trace of it has ever been confirmed in Templar hands. Then there's the theory of the lost blueprints. Ancient Jewish texts speak of divinely inspired architectural plans for the temple, said to contain encoded wisdom. Could the Templars have stumbled upon these schematics, using them to design their own fortresses and cathedrals across Europe? The geometric precision of Gothic architecture, which flourished alongside the Templars, has even sparked speculation about hidden knowledge passed down from these excavations. But perhaps the most enduring question isn't what they found, but what might still be down there. Modern archaeological surveys have been limited by the site's religious sensitivity, leaving vast underground networks unexplored. Could sealed chambers still hold relics deemed too dangerous or sacred to remove? From lost scriptures to the Ark's hiding place, Temple Mount's secrets remain tantalizingly out of reach. One thing is certain, the Templars' time beneath those stones changed them. Whether they uncovered artifacts, knowledge, or simply the weight of history, their excavations became the bedrock of their legend. And for those who still search today, the real treasure might not be gold but answers. At first glance, the Turin-Milan Hours appears to be just another exquisitely crafted medieval prayer book, a relic of devotion, not conspiracy. But the deeper you look, the more unsettling it becomes. This lavishly illustrated manuscript, once in the possession of the Knights Templar, is riddled with cryptic imagery that defies simple explanation. Winged serpents entwined with sacred geometry, celestial maps superimposed over biblical scenes, and alchemical symbols hidden in the margins. This isn't just a devotional text. It's a puzzle waiting to be solved. What makes this manuscript so compelling is its connection to the Templars' rumored esoteric practices. Unlike standard religious works of the time, certain pages seem to encode something far older. Perhaps fragments of lost hermetic knowledge or even a visual cipher pointing to hidden locations. One striking illustration depicts a knight kneeling before a mysterious tree, its branches forming what some researchers argue is an early astrological chart. Another shows a series of interconnected labyrinths, their paths mirroring the floor plans of known Templar commanderies across Europe. Then there's the abrupt disappearance of key folios. Several pages were mysteriously removed centuries ago, their contents now lost. Were they taken to conceal something too dangerous to remain in circulation? Or were they stolen by collectors who recognized their value? The missing sections only amplify the mystery, fueling speculation that the manuscript was never meant to be fully understood by outsiders. Could this book have served as a discreet guide for initiates, a way to pass on secret teachings under the guise of piety? The lavishness of its craftsmanship suggests it was commissioned by someone with immense wealth, someone who valued its hidden layers as much as its surface beauty. For modern scholars, decoding its symbols remains a tantalizing challenge. Every brushstroke could be a clue, every color choice a deliberate signal. The Turin-Milan Hours doesn't just sit at the intersection of art and faith, it whispers of something far more elusive. Whether a treasury of forbidden knowledge or simply a masterpiece misunderstood, one truth remains: this manuscript refuses to surrender its secrets quietly. And that, perhaps, is the most Templar trait of all. Amid the brutal Albigensian crusade, when the flames of persecution consumed the Cathars, a whisper spread through the shadows. The Knights Templar, defenders of orthodoxy, might have secretly shielded their heretical rivals. While the Church sought to obliterate the Cathars as a threat to its authority, legends persist that the Templars orchestrated a daring rescue mission not for people, but for something far more elusive: their treasure. The Cathars, a Gnostic sect branded as heretics, were said to possess sacred texts and relics that challenged mainstream Christian doctrine. Their esoteric beliefs, rejecting materialism and embracing dualism, alarmed Rome. When the crusade against them reached its bloody peak in the 13th century, entire libraries vanished overnight. Here's where the Templar connection takes shape. As expert bankers with a network of fortresses and ships, the order was uniquely positioned to spirit away Cathar wealth. Some accounts describe Templar knights escorting guarded carts under cover of darkness, while others suggest they hid troves in remote Pyrenees caves or even transported them to Scotland. But why risk aiding enemies of the Church? The answer might lie in shared secrets. Both groups revered hidden knowledge. The Templars through their rumored discoveries in Jerusalem, the Cathars through their Gnostic Gospels. The Templars' alleged involvement suggests they saw value in preserving these forbidden teachings, even at the cost of defying papal authority. The most tantalizing clue lies in the sudden architectural flourishes of certain Templar sites after the Cathars' fall. Rennes-le-Château, a village steeped in mystery, became a hotspot for odd symbols and coded messages in its church renovations, eerily reminiscent of Cathar iconography. Was this a quiet tribute or a breadcrumb leading to a hidden cache? No physical evidence has ever confirmed the alliance, but the persistence of the legend speaks volumes. Whether myth or suppressed history, the story paints the Templars not as mere enforcers of dogma, but as shadow players in a far older game, one where knowledge, not gold, was the ultimate prize. And if even fragments of Cathar wisdom survived, they may still be waiting, tucked away in some forgotten corner of a Templar stronghold, silent witnesses to a pact the Church tried to erase. Few relics carry the weight of a dying man's final words quite like the fabled sword of Jacques de Molay. As flames consumed the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar in 1314, his defiant curse echoes across centuries, a vow that his persecutors, King Philip IV of France and Pope Clement V, would meet divine justice within a year. Both men died shortly after, fueling whispers that de Molay's oath had teeth. But what of his sword, the weapon rumored to carry that same wrath? Blades from the medieval era rarely survive intact, yet this one stands apart in legend. Unlike ceremonial or battle-worn swords, de Molay's was said to be bound to his fate, an object so charged with his fury that those who claimed it faced ruin. Stories tell of later owners meeting untimely ends, their lives unraveling in strokes of eerie misfortune. Some accounts describe the sword vanishing from royal armories, only to resurface in the hands of doomed collectors. Others suggest it was hidden away deliberately, sealed in a tomb or sunk in a river to contain its power. But here's the twist: no credible record of the sword's design or whereabouts exists. Unlike the Shroud or the Grail, there are no artistic depictions, no inventories listing its confiscation after the Templars' fall. This absence raises the question: was the sword ever real, or was its legend crafted later to symbolize the Order's unresolved legacy? Some historians argue the curse itself became the weapon, a psychological blow against the Templars' enemies that grew more potent with each retelling. Yet the idea persists, fed by discoveries like a 13th century blade unearthed near the Paris temple, its markings unclear, its origins debated. Could this be a fragment of de Molay's lost weapon, or just another relic mislabeled by hopeful treasure hunters? The line between history and myth blurs here, as it so often does with the Templars. What makes the sword compelling isn't just its curse, but what it represents: justice denied, power unbroken. Whether physical object or phantom, it serves as a reminder that some legacies refuse to die quietly. And for those who still search, the question lingers: if found, would it bring closure or unleash the vengeance of a man who burned but was never truly silenced? Tucked into the heart of Schotter's cathedral lies an ancient puzzle carved directly into the stone floor, a labyrinth so intricate that its true purpose remains hotly debated. Created in the early 13th century at the height of Templar influence, this winding path measures nearly 40 feet in diameter, its 11 concentric circles forming a mesmerizing geometric dance. To the casual observer, it might seem like a simple devotional tool, a place for pilgrims to trace a symbolic journey to Jerusalem. But look closer, and the details start to unravel something far more mysterious. The labyrinth's design is anything but random. Its precise measurements align with sacred geometry found in Templar structures across Europe, echoing ratios linked to Solomon's temple. Some scholars point to the path's exact number of turns, arguing they mirror lunar cycles or encode mathematical constants known to medieval mystics. Even more compelling, the cathedral itself was built during a period when the Templars funneled vast resources into Gothic architecture, often embedding their knowledge in plain sight. Could this labyrinth be one such cipher? A silent textbook of their esoteric beliefs? Then there's the treasure theory. A handful of researchers propose that the labyrinth's twists and turns, when superimposed over maps of the region, point to hidden Templar vaults. Others speculate that the central rosette, a six-petaled design at the labyrinth's heart, holds the key to decoding lost alchemical formulas. Medieval craftsmen rarely worked without intent, and the sheer labor required to carve this masterpiece suggests its creators saw it as more than decoration. Yet the most fascinating aspect isn't just the labyrinth's potential secrets, it's how it defies easy interpretation. Unlike a written code, its message is tactile, meant to be walked, felt underfoot. Perhaps its true purpose wasn't to hide knowledge, but to transmit it silently, through experience rather than words. Whether a spiritual tool, a hidden map, or both, one thing is certain: this labyrinth refuses to surrender its meaning to mere observation. To understand it, you'd need to step inside and let the path itself guide you. Nestled in the rugged hills of southern France, the tiny village of Rennes-le-Château seems like an unlikely epicenter for one of history's most enduring treasure mysteries. Yet behind its quaint stone facades lies a web of intrigue so tangled it has inspired everything from best-selling novels to obsessive quests for hidden gold. At the heart of it all, a parish priest named Berenger Sornier, whose sudden wealth in the late 19th century set off whispers of a discovery too explosive to reveal. When Sornier took over the crumbling village church in 1885, he was a man of modest means, yet within years he was funding lavish renovations, ornate statues, a mysterious tower he called Tour Magdala, and cryptic inscriptions carved into the very walls. Locals whispered of midnight excavations in the cemetery, secret meetings with shadowy figures, and even a rumored trove of ancient parchments, the most tantalizing theory. That beneath the church lay Templar relics, lost documents or treasure smuggled out of Jerusalem centuries earlier. But why would Templar secrets surface here? The geography tells part of the story. Rennes-le-Château sits in the Languedoc, a region once teeming with Cathars, and as we've seen, the Templars had rumored ties to these so-called heretics. Some believe Sornier stumbled upon proof of that alliance, perhaps even a lost gospel or a map to hidden Templar wealth. Others argue the priest found something more tangible, gold or jewels buried beneath the church during the order's chaotic dissolution. The clues Sornier left behind only deepen the enigma. A Latin inscription above the church door reads Terribilis est locus ista, this place is terrible. Was it a warning? Among the eerie decorations, one stands out, a sculpted demon gripping a bag of coins as if mocking those who seek fortune. Even the layout of his garden paths mirrors celestial patterns, hinting at esoteric knowledge. Modern researchers have combed the site with ground-penetrating radar, uncovering anomalies beneath the church's potential hollow chambers or tunnels. Yet authorities have blocked further exploration, leaving the truth just out of reach. Whether Sornier uncovered Templar gold, heretical texts, or simply a clever hoax, one thing is clear: Rennes-le-Château remains a puzzle box waiting for the right key. And for those who still hunt, the village secrets whisper louder than ever, if you know where to listen. For centuries, the official record claimed the Knights Templar met their end in flames and disgrace, condemned as heretics by the church they once served. But in 2001, a discovery in the Vatican's secret archives turned that narrative on its head. The Chinon parchment, a faded manuscript dated 1308, contains something explosive: an absolution. Pope Clement V himself had secretly pardoned the Templar leadership, clearing them of heresy charges behind closed doors. This wasn't just a clerical oversight, it was a deliberate act hidden from history for over 700 years. The document's contents are startling. After months of grueling interrogations, the Pope privately concluded the Templars' confessions were coerced through torture. Yet publicly, the order was still dismantled, its members imprisoned or executed. Why the contradiction? The parchment hints at a shadow play of politics and survival. King Philip IV of France, drowning in debt to the Templars, had pressured Clement into suppressing the order. The absolution may have been the Pope's quiet compromise, sparing their souls while sacrificing their institution to avoid open conflict with the French crown. But the implications run deeper. If the Templars were innocent, why not announce their vindication? Some historians speculate the document was meant for Templar survivors, a coded signal that their sacred mission could continue underground. Others argue it reveals the Church's fractured loyalties, torn between justice and political expediency. The parchment's survival is equally mysterious. Stamped with Clement's seal yet omitted from official decrees, it was misfiled among unrelated documents, almost as if someone wanted it both preserved and concealed. The Chinon parchment forces us to reconsider the Templars' final days. Were they martyrs to a lie, or did their influence simply retreat into the shadows? Either way, this fragile sheet of vellum proves history's victors don't always write the full story. Sometimes the truth waits centuries for the right moment to emerge. Towering over the quiet coastal landscape of Newport, Rhode Island, stands a structure that shouldn't exist. Not here, not according to the history books we've been taught. The Newport Tower, a weather-worn stone cylinder with arches reminiscent of medieval Europe, has baffled researchers for centuries. Officially labeled a colonial-era windmill, its design tells a different story. The intricate masonry, the precise astronomical alignments, none of it matches 17th-century colonial work, but if not the settlers who built it? The answer, according to some, rewrites the entire timeline of New World exploration. Take a closer look at the architectural details. The 8 rounded pillars supporting the tower's arches mirror Templar built structures across Europe, particularly their iconic round churches. Then there's the orientation. Certain windows align with solstice sunrises, a hallmark of sacred Templar geometry. Even the mortar composition has been scrutinized, with some studies suggesting it predates known colonial formulas. None of this fits neatly into conventional history, but if the Templars did cross the Atlantic, it wouldn't be their first defiance of expectations. The theory gains traction when paired with other anomalies. The nearby Narragansett rune stone, discovered in the 1930s, bears markings resembling Norse or medieval European script. Meanwhile, indigenous oral traditions in the region speak of bearded strangers arriving long before Columbus. Could these fragments point to a Templar expedition, perhaps fleeing persecution after their order's dissolution? Their legendary naval fleet would have had the capability, and their rumored treasure ships might explain the motivation. Skeptics, of course, dismiss the idea. They argue the tower's construction matches later colonial techniques, and the Norse similarities are coincidental. Yet even they struggle to explain why a simple windmill would require such sophisticated stonework. The truth may lie somewhere in between, a colonial structure built atop much older foundations, repurposed by settlers unaware of its origins. What makes the Newport Tower so compelling isn't just the physical evidence, but the audacity of the question it forces us to ask. Did the Templars beat Columbus to the Americas by centuries? Whether a lone relic of a forgotten voyage or a colonial oddity, the tower refuses to fit neatly into any narrative. And sometimes the most disruptive pieces of history are the ones left standing in plain sight, waiting for us to reconsider what we think we know. Berenger Sornier's sudden wealth wasn't the only thing that raised eyebrows in Rennes-le-Château. It was the parchments. Among the flurry of renovations and cryptic symbols the priest left behind, nothing has sparked as much intrigue as the handful of documents he allegedly discovered while restoring his crumbling church. These weren't ordinary manuscripts, they were cryptic, layered with odd ciphers and references that seemed to point toward something far older and far more dangerous than anyone anticipated. According to local accounts, Sornier found these parchments hidden inside a hollow pillar or beneath the church's ancient altar. The texts, written in a mix of medieval Latin, Greek, and what appeared to be coded symbols, reportedly contained references to the Knights Templar, biblical genealogy, and even geographic coordinates. Some researchers claim the priest spent years painstakingly decoding their content, and whatever he uncovered may have been the real source of his unexplained fortune. But here's where the mystery deepens. The original parchments vanished shortly after Sornier's death, leaving behind only copies and second-hand descriptions. Were they stolen to suppress their secrets, or did Sornier himself destroy them, realizing the peril they posed? The few surviving fragments, some bearing Templar crosses and strange geometric diagrams, hint at a possible treasure map, but not one leading to mere gold. The language suggests something more profound, lost knowledge, perhaps even proof of a bloodline or sacred relic the Church had sought to erase. Theories about the parchments meaning spiral in every direction. One persistent claim ties them to the Merovingian kings, a dynasty shrouded in whispers of divine lineage. Another suggests they revealed the hiding place of a Templar archive, documents so explosive they could append centuries of religious history. Even the architecture of Sornier's church renovations seems to echo the parchment's riddles, with statues positioned like waypoints in an invisible puzzle. What makes these documents so tantalizing isn't just their potential link to the Templars, but the way they blur the line between fact and legend. No one can say for certain if they were genuine medieval artifacts or an elaborate hoax, but their influence is undeniable. From best-selling novels to modern-day treasure hunters, the Sornier papers have spun a web of obsession that stretches far beyond a quiet French village. And somewhere in that labyrinth of ink and parchment, there might still be a secret waiting, one last revelation hidden in plain sight. The weathered stone faces of Templar knights stare silently upward, their crossed legs marking them as warriors of a forgotten era. These medieval effigies, known as Gissants, aren't just solemn memorials, they might be a final puzzle left by the order itself. Carved with meticulous detail, these recumbent statues adorn Templar chapels across Europe, their frozen poses holding secrets no one expected to find in plain sight. Look closer and the anomalies start to emerge. Some Gissants feature subtle irregularities, a sword hilt twisted at an odd angle, a shield bearing unfamiliar markings, or even a faint line suggesting a concealed seam in the stone. Historians have long debated whether these were artistic choices or intentional clues. A handful of cases fuel the intrigue. In France's St. Bayet Chapel, a Gissant was discovered with a hollow compartment beneath its chest, empty but lined with traces of aged parchment. Another, in Portugal's Toma Castle, has a base etched with symbols matching those found in Templar crypts, symbols modern researchers still struggle to interpret. The crossed legs, often dismissed as a stylistic convention, might be far more significant. In medieval iconography, this pose was rare outside Templar contexts, leading some scholars to propose it signaled allegiance to a hidden tradition. Others go further, suggesting the angle of the legs corresponds to celestial alignments or even encrypted directions. One compelling theory ties the statues to the order's rumored initiation rites, that the Gissants served as three-dimensional manuals for rituals too sensitive to record on parchment. But the most haunting question isn't what these statues might hide, it's why. If the Templars encoded messages in stone, they likely expected only certain eyes to decipher them. Were they preserving knowledge for future brothers, marking the locations of lost relics, or simply ensuring that, even in defeat, their legacy couldn't be erased? The Gissants offer no easy answers, but their silence speaks volumes. After all, the best place to hide a secret isn't underground. It's in the open, where only those who know how to look will ever see it. As the centuries pass, these stone guardians keep their watch, waiting for someone to uncover the truth beneath their unblinking gaze. And perhaps hidden in the curve of a carved hand or the fold of a stone cloak, the final piece of the puzzle still lies undisturbed. Few chapters of Templar history are as shrouded in maritime mystery as the fate of their legendary fleet. At the height of their power, the Order boasted one of the most formidable naval forces in medieval Europe, ships capable of transporting troops, treasure, and secrets across the Mediterranean and beyond. Yet when the Templars were crushed in the early 14th century, their fleet didn't surrender or disband. It vanished. Eyewitness accounts from the time describe a sudden exodus of Templar vessels from French ports, slipping away under cover of darkness just ahead of King Philip IV's arrest warrants. But where did they go? Contemporary chroniclers noted strange sightings, unmarked ships off the coast of Scotland, rumors of a convoy reaching as far as the Baltic. The most tantalizing theory that the fleet carried not just fleeing knights but the Order's most sacred relics, fragments of the true cross, the Grail, or even their fabled treasury, spirited away to safety. Then there's the New World angle. Centuries before Columbus, the Templars had the navigational knowledge and resources to cross the Atlantic. Medieval port records from Portugal mention Templar caravels stocked with unusual supplies enough for a months-long voyage. Could some of those ships have reached North America? Intriguingly, the Newport Tower's disputed architecture isn't the only anomaly. Along Canada's eastern coast, artifacts like the Westford Knight, a possible medieval carving in Massachusetts, hint at European contact long before recorded history. The ocean, however, keeps its secrets. While modern sonar has located countless wrecks, none have been definitively tied to the Templars. Some researchers believe key ships were scuttled deliberately in shallow waters, their cargoes hidden in coastal caves or underwater chambers. Others argue the fleet disbanded quietly, its vessels repurposed by pirates or rival orders like the Hospitallers. What makes the lost fleet so compelling isn't just its physical absence, but what its disappearance represents, the final defiance of an order that refused to be erased. Whether rusting on the seabed, buried beneath a Scottish cliff, or resting in some uncharted bay, these ships may still hold the keys to history's greatest unsolved treasure hunt. Until they're found, the waves will keep whispering their stories, teasing us with fragments of a truth just beyond reach. Hidden among the rolling green hills of Scotland, Rosslyn Chapel stands as a masterpiece of medieval craftsmanship, but look beyond its breathtaking beauty and you'll find something far more intriguing. Every inch of this 15th century marvel is covered in intricate carvings, from vines twisting up pillars to strange, cryptic symbols that seem to whisper forgotten secrets. Among them, hidden in plain sight, are markings unmistakably tied to the Knights Templar, Cross-Pâté, sword-wielding knights, and even what some believe could be coded references to the Holy Grail. The chapel's connection to the Templars is no accident. Built by the Sinclair family, a clan with deep ties to the order, Rosslyn's architecture mirrors the sacred geometry of Templar sites across Europe. One pillar in particular, the Apprentice Pillar, has fueled speculation for centuries. Wrapped in serpentine carvings and crowned with an intricate knot of stone, legends claim it conceals a hidden chamber beneath its base, possibly holding relics smuggled out of Jerusalem. Even more compelling are the chapel's ceiling bosses, where carvings of maize and aloe vera plants unknown to Europe at the time hint at knowledge of distant lands long before Columbus set sail. Were the Sinclairs privy to Templar discoveries about the New World? Then there's the Grail theory. Among the chapel's dizzying array of symbols, some researchers point to a sequence of cubes carved with musical notations. When interpreted as a melody, the notes form a haunting tune known as the Rosslyn Motet, which a handful of scholars believe could be a sonic cipher, a map to the Grail's hiding place. Others argue the chapel itself is the treasure, its stonework encoding lost wisdom through sacred geometry. Skeptics dismiss these claims as overreach, attributing the carvings to the era's artistic flourishes. But the precision of the symbolism is hard to ignore. From the green man's pagan gaze to the Templar crosses tucked between biblical scenes, Rosslyn feels less like a chapel and more like a library in stone. Whether it guards relics, knowledge, or simply the echoes of a shadowed past, one thing is clear. Its walls were meant to tell a story. The only question is, are we finally ready to listen? Section 20. The Templar Gold of Cyprus. As the Templars' world crumbled under persecution in the early 14th century, not all their treasures fell into the hands of kings and inquisitors. Some knights escaped, vanishing into the shadows with relics, gold, and secrets in tow. Among their last strongholds stood the sun-baked island of Cyprus, a strategic outpost where the order had deep roots. And here, buried beneath centuries of history, whispers persist that a fortune still waits to be found. Cyprus was no random refuge. The Templars had held the island for decades, using its ports as a hub for their Mediterranean operations. When the crackdown came, their fleet reportedly made desperate runs to its shores, cargo holds heavy with chests of Templar wealth, some say even sacred artifacts smuggled from Jerusalem. Local legends speak of underground chambers beneath ancient fortresses, sealed tunnels snaking under Famagusta's streets, and remote mountain caves where gold might still gather dust. Modern treasure hunters have chased these rumors for years. In 2020, archaeologists scanning Colossi Castle, once a key Templar command post, detected anomalous voids beneath its foundations, sparking theories of hidden vaults. Elsewhere, ground-penetrating radar surveys near Limassol revealed man-made cavities matching medieval construction techniques, but Cyprus guards its secrets fiercely. Political tensions and strict antiquities laws have stalled major excavations, leaving these sites tantalizingly out of reach. What makes the Templar gold so compelling isn't just the promise of riches, it's the question of what else might lie with it. Inventories from the period mention missing relics, chalices, encrypted manuscripts, even a set of golden tablets whose purpose remains unknown. Could these objects hold the key to lost Templar knowledge, or were they melted down long ago to fill royal coffers? Skeptics argue the legends are just that romantic tales spun from the chaos of the Order's fall. Yet the circumstantial evidence is hard to ignore. Cyprus's history is a patchwork of conquests and buried wealth, from Byzantine hoards to Ottoman loot. If Templar treasure does rest here, it's hidden in the one place no one expected. Not in a remote wilderness, but under an island teeming with life, where every stone might whisper a clue. The truth may still lie inches below the surface, waiting for the right explorer to listen. And whether the gold is myth or reality, its legend endures a final defiance from an order that refused to vanish without a trace. Section 21. The Priory of Sion. Myth, fact or fiction? Few modern legends have blurred the lines between history and fantasy quite like the Priory of Sion. Officially registered in France in 1956, this enigmatic group burst into the public imagination decades later with explosive claims that it was a centuries-old secret society, the true heir to the Knights Templar, and the guardian of earth-shattering secrets, including the bloodline of Christ himself. But how much of this is rooted in reality, and how much is clever storytelling? At the heart of the Priory's mythos lies a tangled web of documents, some of which surfaced in the Bibliothèque Nationale de Paris in the 1960s. These so-called dossier secrets linked the group to medieval luminaries like Leonardo da Vinci and Isaac Newton, suggesting an unbroken chain of guardians protecting hidden knowledge. The problem: most experts now agree the papers were clever forgeries, part of an elaborate hoax orchestrated by Pierre Plantard, a Frenchman with a flair for the dramatic. Yet even after his schemes unraveled, the idea refused to die. So why does the Priory still captivate us? Part of its staying power comes from its ties to older, genuine mysteries. The Templars, after all, did vanish into the shadows, leaving behind rumors of underground networks. The Priory's narrative cleverly slots into those gaps, offering a tantalizing "what if" for those who suspect the Order never truly disappeared. Books like the Da Vinci Code amplified the legend, but the real fascination lies deeper, in our collective hunger for hidden histories and the possibility that world-shaking truths still lurk just out of sight. Critics argue the Priory is pure fantasy, a 20th century invention with no credible ties to the past. Yet intriguingly, some offshoots of the original group still operate today, their members debating whether Plantard's lies might have concealed a sliver of truth. Could the hoax have been a smokescreen designed to distract from something more substantial? Or is the enduring allure of the Priory simply proof of how powerfully the Templar myth still resonates? Whether fact, fiction, or something in between, the Priory of Sion reminds us that history isn't always written in stone. Sometimes it's written in whispers. And in the shadows between those whispers, the Templars' legacy continues to thrive, refusing to be buried by time or skepticism. After all, the best secrets aren't just about what's true, they're about what we believe could be. Section 22. The Templar cipher, a code yet to be cracked beneath the surface of medieval parchments and crumbling stone carvings. The Knights Templar left behind more than relics. They embedded their secrets in language itself. Scattered across Europe, manuscripts and inscriptions bear strange symbols, seemingly random letter arrangements, and geometric patterns that defy ordinary reading. These aren't mistakes or idle scribbles, they're deliberate ciphers designed to shield the Order's most dangerous knowledge from prying eyes. And 7 centuries later, some of these codes still resist cracking. The Templars weren't just warriors and bankers, they were masters of encryption. Historical records confirm they employed shifting alphabets, symbolic grids, and even mirrored writing to cloak sensitive communications. One of their most infamous methods was the Atbash cipher, a Hebrew-derived substitution code that flips letters into their opposites. A becomes Z, B becomes Y, and so on. Simple by modern standards, but in an era when literacy itself was rare, such tricks were revolutionary. Yet not all Templar codes were so straightforward. Take the Château de Gizers inscriptions, discovered in a French castle long tied to the Order. Etched into its walls are sequences of letters and Templar crosses that, when analyzed, don't match any known medieval cipher system. Some researchers suggest these markings could point to hidden vaults or even the locations of lost relics, like a treasure map written in a language we've forgotten how to read. Modern cryptographers have thrown cutting-edge technology at these puzzles. AI algorithms designed to break complex codes have scoured Templar documents for patterns, while frequency analysis, a technique used to crack wartime messages, has been applied to their oddest texts. A few tantalizing leads have emerged. In 2019, a team in Italy claimed to have partially decoded a cipher from a Templar scroll in Venice, revealing references to a sacred trust buried beneath a circle of 7. But without more context, even this breakthrough raises more questions than answers. The most compelling theory that some Templar messages were never meant to stand alone. Fragments of text might only make sense when paired with physical markers, a specific carving in a chapel, the alignment of stars on a particular date, or even the layout of their commanderies. This multi-key approach would explain why isolated decryptions often feel incomplete, like hearing one note of a symphony. Could the final breakthrough be just around the corner? With each passing year, new tools and collaborations between historians, mathematicians, and linguists bring us closer. But the Templars, it seems, designed their secrets to outlast empires. Whether these ciphers guard directions to lost treasure, rituals of initiation, or simply the private thoughts of knights long gone, one truth remains: their codes were built to endure. And somewhere in the jumble of symbols and silences, the past is still speaking if only we could listen the right way. Section 23. The Black Virgin statues, symbols of hidden wisdom standing in the dim light of old European chapels, their dark faces weathered by centuries of candle smoke and whispered prayers. The Black Virgins remain some of the most enigmatic relics tied to the Templars. These statues of the Virgin Mary, carved from jet black wood or stone, aren't just artistic curiosities, they're silent guardians of a mystery that might trace back to an ancient, hidden tradition. Unlike the radiantly pale Madonnas of mainstream medieval art, these shadowed figures seem to hold something deeper in their solemn gaze. Theories about their origins weave through history like fragments of a lost manuscript. Some scholars argue the Black Virgins echo pre-Christian goddess worship figures like Isis or Cybele, whose dark hues symbolized fertility, the earth, or the night sky. Others suggest they represent the Song of Solomon's cryptic line, "I am black but beautiful," a metaphor for divine wisdom concealed in obscurity. What's undeniable is their persistent presence in Templar strongholds. From the famous Notre Dame du Pai in France to Montserrat's revered statue in Spain, These Madonnas occupy sacred spaces once controlled by the order, hinting at a deliberate connection. But why would warrior monks venerate such unconventional icons? One compelling idea ties them to the Templars' rumored discoveries in Jerusalem. Medieval texts describe underground chambers beneath Temple Mount where initiates underwent rituals of enlightenment. Some claim these spaces held artifacts of older, esoteric traditions. If the Templars encountered ancient wisdom there, the Black Virgins could have served as coded vessels for that knowledge, their darkness a metaphor for truths too potent to be displayed openly. Not everyone accepts such mystical interpretations. Skeptics point to practical explanations. The darkwood may have simply aged over time, or the statues could reflect regional artistic styles. Yet the consistency of their placement in Templar-linked sites raises questions. Many stand atop former pagan sanctuaries, their chapels built along ley lines or beside sacred springs, as if marking points on some invisible map. Whether symbols of suppressed goddess worship, carriers of forgotten teachings, or merely devotional art, the Black Virgins refuse to be easily defined. Their power lies in the questions they provoke about faith, history, and the silent threads that connect them. To stand before one is to feel the weight of centuries, the unspoken presence of something just beyond reach. And in that silence, the past still speaks. Section 24. The Templar Cross-Pâté. More than a symbol at first glance, the Crimson Cross-Pâté seems simple. A bold, symmetrical emblem stitched onto the cloaks of warrior monks. But this iconic symbol is far more than just a badge of faith. Etched into stones from Jerusalem to Scotland, stamped on seals, and carved into the foundations of forgotten chapels, its presence lingers like a silent cipher. Was it merely a mark of allegiance, or did the Templars embed something far more profound into its geometric perfection? Look closely, and the design reveals hidden layers. Unlike the traditional Christian cross, the cross-pâté flares outward at the ends, its arms tapering to points, a shape that some researchers argue aligns with sacred geometry. The angles between its arms mirror proportions found in Solomon's temple, while its eight-pointed silhouette echoes medieval star maps used for navigation. Could this have been intentional? Templar sites across Europe often feature the cross positioned to align with celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, or even the path of certain stars. Some believe these placements weren't random but formed a network of markers guiding initiates to hidden knowledge or vaults. Then there's the treasure theory. In the Pyrenees, a cluster of crosses carved into remote cliffs matches Templar patrol routes, yet locals whisper they point to something deeper. Legends tell of underground chambers sealed beneath these symbols, their entrances concealed by landslides or deliberately collapsed tunnels. Modern explorers armed with ground-penetrating radar have detected anomalies beneath a few of these sites, though none have been fully excavated. Skeptics dismiss the idea as folklore, but the consistency of these tales across continents raises questions. But perhaps the cross's true power lay in its duality. To outsiders, it was a declaration of piety, a shield against heresy accusations. To the Templars themselves, it may have functioned as a coded emblem, signaling everything from safe passage to the location of secret meetings. Some medieval manuscripts even depict the cross surrounded by cryptic numerals or astrological signs, hinting at a deeper lexicon lost to time. The most fascinating aspect isn't just what the cross represented, it's how its meaning shifted with the order's fate. After the Templars' suppression, the symbol reappeared in unexpected places, on the sails of explorers' ships, in the heraldry of noble families with rumored ties to the order, even woven into the architecture of later secret societies. Like a thread pulled through history, it connects moments and movements that, on the surface, seem unrelated. Whether a spiritual compass, a treasure map, or simply a masterstroke of branding, the cross-pâté refuses to be reduced to a single interpretation. Its legacy endures not in grand declarations, but in quiet details. The flicker of recognition when it appears on an ancient wall, the unshakable sense that there's more to the story. And for those who still search, the cross remains both a beacon and a riddle, its secrets guarded by the very boldness of its design. After all, the best hiding places are often the ones everyone overlooks. Section 25. The Lost Library of the Templars' Knowledge Destroyed or Hidden. Of all the treasures the Knights Templar may have possessed, none was more dangerous than their books. Over 2 centuries of power, the Order assembled a vast collection of manuscripts, forbidden alchemical treatises, suppressed Christian gospels, and texts on everything from sacred geometry to ancient medicine. But when the Templars fell, their library vanished without a trace. Was it burned to ash by their enemies or hidden away for a future generation to uncover? Historical records from the trials mention inquisitors seizing chests of documents, yet many of the Order's most controversial writings never surfaced. Some scholars believe this was no accident. The Templars, anticipating their downfall, could have smuggled critical texts to safe havens, perhaps sealed within remote monasteries, buried beneath commanderies, or even transported overseas by their fleet. The sheer breadth of their rumored knowledge suggests these weren't just random scrolls, but a curated archive of wisdom deemed too radical for the medieval world. Among the most tantalizing losses are texts linked to the Cathars and Gnostic traditions, gospels that challenged mainstream Christian doctrine. Could the Templars have preserved works like the Gospel of Thomas or the Book of Enoch long before modern archaeologists rediscovered them? Others speculate about alchemical manuals, detailing processes to transmute metals or even unlock eternal life. The Order's rapid financial rise has long fueled whispers that they possessed more than just earthly wealth. Clues surface in unexpected places. In Portugal, where the Templars rebranded as the Order of Christ, a handful of cryptic manuscripts survived in royal archives, bearing symbols that match Templar ciphers. Meanwhile, hidden compartments in French chapels have yielded fragments of parchment, their contents too damaged to decipher fully. Even private collectors occasionally come forward with texts bearing the Order's insignia, though authentication remains fraught with controversy. The question isn't just what the library contained, it's why its disappearance matters. If even a fraction of these works survived, they could rewrite our understanding of medieval science, spirituality, and the Templars' true mission. Were they guardians of lost knowledge, or did they become its final victims? The answer might still lie folded inside an unmarked tome, waiting on a dusty shelf for someone to recognize its significance. For now, the library remains a ghost, an echo of what was and a promise of what might still be found. And in that tension between destruction and preservation, the Templars' greatest secret endures, not gold, not relics, but the power of ideas too potent to erase. Section 26. Modern Templar hunters. The search continues. The Knights Templar may have vanished from the historical stage centuries ago, but their legacy lives on. Not just in dusty manuscripts, but in the relentless pursuit of modern-day treasure hunters. Armed with cutting-edge technology and centuries-old clues, these explorers are rewriting what it means to chase history's greatest secrets. This isn't just about gold or relics, it's about solving a puzzle that has tantalized minds for generations. Take the quiet valleys of rural France, where teams armed with ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR scans sweep the earth beneath medieval chapels, searching for anomalies that could signal hidden chambers. In Portugal, divers comb the seabed near Templar strongholds, hoping to spot the outline of a sunken ship laden with artifacts. Even satellite imagery plays a role now, revealing faint geometric patterns in the landscape that might point to long-lost structures. The tools have evolved, but the drive remains the same, to uncover what the Templars left behind. Then there are the codebreakers. Cryptographers pore over Templar ciphers with algorithms far more powerful than the Order could have imagined, teasing out meanings that once seemed indecipherable. In 2022, a team in Italy claimed to have mapped fragments of a Templar scroll to specific coordinates in southern France, though what lies at those coordinates remains a mystery. Others sift through forgotten archives, cross-referencing medieval property records with local legends, piecing together trails that might lead to a breakthrough. But the hunt isn't just for professionals. Amateur historians and adventurers play a vital role too. In Scotland, a hiker stumbled upon a cryptic carving in a remote cave that matched Templar symbols. In Spain, a farmer ploughing his field unearthed a lead chest sealed with a Cross-Pâté. While many leads fizzle out, each discovery fuels the belief that somewhere, waiting beneath centuries of dust and deliberate obfuscation, lies something extraordinary. What keeps the search alive isn't just stubborn hope, it's the tantalizing gaps in the historical record. Templar wealth did disappear, their ships did vanish. And scattered across Europe, cryptic markers and architectural oddities do hint at something deliberate, something hidden. Whether the next big find will be a chest of gold, a lost manuscript, or merely another dead end, one thing is certain: the Templars designed their secrets to endure. The question isn't just what remains to be found, it's who will be the first to recognize it when they see it. After all, the greatest treasures aren't always the ones that glitter. Sometimes they're the ones that make us look twice at a weathered stone, a faded symbol, or a whisper in an ancient text and wonder, what if the relics of the Knights Templar don't just belong to the past, they live in the present, caught somewhere between fact and folklore? Every chalice, every cipher, every crumbling manuscript carries a whisper of their story, daring us to ask, where does history end and legend begin? These artifacts aren't just objects. They're portals into a world of devotion and defiance, where faith and power collided in ways we're still unraveling today. Perhaps that's why the Templars refuse to fade into history. Their relics, whether lost, hidden, or simply imagined, challenge us to look beyond the surface. Could the Grail still rest in some forgotten chapel vault? Might a single parchment waiting in an overlooked archive rewrite what we thought we knew? The beauty of these mysteries isn't just in solving them, but in the endless pursuit itself. Every generation brings new tools, new minds, and fresh eyes to these age-old riddles. What's your take? Dive into the comments and tell us which relic captured your imagination. Was it the Ark's terrifying power, the Shroud's ghostly imprint, or the silent codes etched into Templar stones? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this journey, and let us know what other historical enigmas you'd love to explore. The past is never truly gone, it's just waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Until then, keep questioning, keep digging, and who knows, you might just stumble on the next great discovery. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. The Templars may be centuries gone, but their legacy, that's still being written.